Hey there everyone, welcome back to Press for Truth TV. Thanks for tuning in again on this Friday, March 2nd, 2012. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about a program that just recently aired on CBC's The National. The National here in Canada is a program that airs coast to coast. And they just recently did a piece on the Freeman Movement here in Canada. And I personally have been following this Freeman Movement for at least 5 years or so now. I'm very interested in it. It's very intriguing. And what it is basically is a free man on the land, as they call themselves here in Canada, is an individual who lives within a common law jurisdiction, but they lawfully refuse to giving consent to being governed, and therefore no statutory obligations or restrictions apply to that human being. So it's very interesting because the Freemen have essentially figured out a way to kind of unplug from the matrix and remove themselves from the system essentially. And this of course poses a problem for the current elite of the world who are trying to unite us all together, because the Freeman Movement is about stepping out of that and not being governed by the system and being an individual who governs themselves. So, in light of the fact that this movement is growing exponentially, the powers that be have kicked up their efforts with their propaganda campaign now to try to demonize the movement and try to portray Canadian freemen as potentially dangerous, violent cop killers, is what I was getting from this program that just aired on CBC's The National. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I have a clip of it here. And right off the bat, you can see, the title of the thing. A Canadian Concern? Adrian Arsenault with the eye-opening story of a U.S. anti-government group and why Canada needs to be concerned. Let's see what they say.
Adherents call themselves freemen on the land. They belong to what some consider to be a harmless fringe movement in Canada, but others argue it may be larger and more worrying than it appears. The group is fairly new, but its numbers are swelling, and some police fear its potential for violence may also be on the rise. Our Adrian Arsenault now with this feature investigation, Finding the Freemen.
So, right away, there is a potential for violence. These people are potentially dangerous, and the program just follows along that line, and it just progressively gets worse and worse. Not long into the program, they eventually mention how the Canadian Freemen on the Land movement is very similar to a movement in the States called freemen down there refer to themselves as sovereign citizens. And this program starts showing that people, they say, like Timothy McVeigh was a sovereign. And they start pulling up these old cases of cop killings and police officers who have been shot by apparently sovereigns, to try to demonize the movement and portray the Canadian wing as also being potentially violent. I'll just show you here what I'm talking about if I can pull it up here.
Police,
yeah, here we go.
Known as sovereigns. It's economic despair that fuels their fury, and that rage here has turned murderous. For decades, sovereigns livid with government have targeted official buildings, police, anyone with authority. Timothy McVeigh, who helped blow up the Oklahoma Federal Building, was a sovereign citizen. So was Joe Stack, who flew his plane into an IRS building in Texas. More frequent have been shootings. At least a dozen officers have been killed by sovereigns. Nearly 19 hurt in shootouts with sovereigns and other anti-government extremists since 2009.
And that's just the beginning. It gets worse and worse in this program. And, when they started to do this program, the whole thing is based around an interview that the CBC conducted with a man named Robert Menard, who many would consider to be Canada's leader, biggest leader in the Freeman Movement here in Canada. So this whole program is based around an interview that they conducted with him, and I was there at the CBC studio to document the entire interview, because at the time, this is last year in December, when they were filming for this, I just knew it was going to be a hit piece. I knew the CBC was going to try to portray Robert and the rest of the free men on the land here in Canada as potentially dangerous, violent cop killers. And so I was right there for the entire interview to document the whole thing, to make sure that if the CBC tried to spin it in that manner, we would have the raw, unedited footage so that we could prove to you that here's what Robert actually said, which is that we don't condone violence. We are all about using our words and love and our mind to eject from the system, not violence. And she even points that out in the program here, how I was there documenting it because we're so paranoid that they're going to portray it in a bad light. And here you'll see that for yourself.
Peaceful may not ever act out against anyone, and most are insulted by the suggestion there might be danger
You
ahead.
see me.
They worry so much about how the movement will be portrayed. Robert Menard had 2 cameramen shooting us, shooting this interview.
Yeah, and the thing is, when the one bad...
So they say they were so worried about how we were going to portray them that they even had their own cameramen here to document us doing the interview. And yeah, you're right, we were very concerned about how you were going to portray this program, and it just came out, and lo and behold, it's just like I thought it would be, a total hit piece to try to demonize the movement. So I'm going to put a link in the description to this program which aired on the National. It's about 20 minutes long. You can check it out for yourself. It's absolutely disgusting. But I'll also put a link to a YouTube video where I conducted an interview with Robert Menard on the same day that he did this CBC interview, so that you can see the contrast. You can see the difference between how the CBC portrays him and the interview they did with him compared to how the interview actually went and some of the things that Robert actually has to say. So check those out in the description. Again, the CBC's version and then my interview with Robert, and you can compare the two, and you know, you can make up your own mind about what you think about the Freeman movement coming from Robert Menard. So that's it for today, guys, and I hope everyone has a great weekend, and I'll see you right back here on Monday. Okay, take care.